This is the finished object. It's what I'm wearing, and it is the companion piece to go with the sweater that I'm wearing. I knit this sweater for the New York Sheep and Wool Festival weekend, and you never know what the weather is going to be like at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, and so I decided to knit a hat to go with it. And this hat has been on my queue for a while. I was following the journey of Sharon at the Yarn Scout, who unfortunately passed away from cancer this past year. And as I was watching her take a break from the shop, and then as she sadly passed away, the shop was opened again and they wanted to try to move as much stock as they could. I was drawn to some special bases that they had in their shop. And one of the bases is this Skaisel Haiku Caribou. And it's 100% nylon. It's basically that feeling that you get when you touch one of those minky blankets that a lot of children have. It's just so squishy and soft and so much comfort. And so I thought, well, what can I make with this? And I went down this searching path until I found this pattern. It's a pattern by Tiny Owl Knits, and it's called Wolfpup. And I don't know about this designer. I have never knit from this designer before. I just thought yes to this hat. And I have a hat that's very similar to this that has a lot of faux fur and wool. I don't know if it's wool or maybe it's acrylic. And I love this hat, and I thought, you know what? I'm on a mission to make everything that I wear, so I'm gonna replace this hat with something that I have made, and here it is. I just have a little bit of this blue left to show you, so I thought I would show you the baby Alpaca Grande from Plymouth Yarn in the full skein. This is not the same color, but it is the same fiber. It's just super squishy because it is 100% baby alpaca, and it's a very large weight. So it says on the label to use a US 10.5 needle, and one skein is approximately 110 yards. You do need two skeins, unfortunately, because of the extra happening here and here. You can finish the whole hat, I think with one skein, but you wouldn't have enough for this flap. So you can improvise, because I did tack my flap up. You could improvise and maybe just do double up on this to make the flap if you just wanted to go for one skein, and then you would need something separate for these braids. That's just a tip if you only want to buy one skein. It's always a risk, but it is a two skein project. So what's fun about this is you make two different hats. So first you make the cabled hat, and I have to say I was struggling with this hat. I made the two flaps as noted in the pattern. Then when it was time to join it all in the round to finish it, I was off somehow. So many times when I am doing something, I don't first think, oh wow, you're making a mistake. There's a mistake somewhere else. So I was wondering why I was adding these purl stitches where they really should have been knit stitches, but I just kept going. And eventually I just had to frog back to the flaps again and start again. I think I was just really tired that night. And so I was glad when I started over and followed the directions exactly as written that I was able to make it happen. Another direction that I thought was a little confusing that I just want to point out to you is it says here in chart B, and chart B is this whole hat from the ear flaps up. And it says, note, round one only, omit bobbles and cables during your second time through section 2. So I read that incorrectly. I just read omit bobbles and cables. And that was wrong. So I just thought for some reason, even though there's a big B, big bobble on this chart, you just omit them for the first round. I was wrong. So I kept looking at the picture thinking there should be a bobble there. And there is. There should be a bobble there. So these are afterthought bobbles. So I just knit these bobbles on their own, and then I attached them after the fact. Once I was up here to this bobble, I'm going, that's supposed to be the second bobble that I see. So I definitely made a mistake. Just added them as afterthought bobbles. So don't be like me. Read the instructions and read them correctly, and then do what it says. So I'm going to show you a picture. You knit the lining separate, and here's the lining outside of the outside hat. And I can show it to you. Here it is. So you place the lining inside, and you kind of do a basting stitch, and then you go over it with real thread if you want. I only did that on certain parts, this part right here, this seam right here. And I probably should do it on the whole hat, but I think it's staying together okay for now. For now. I decided that I wanted to incorporate the colors of the sweater that I was gonna wear this hat with. So I took my extra yarn and I made a pom pom. I used this tool by the loom to make my pom pom, which was really nice. I also used it to make my tassels here. And I just incorporated all the colors in this chain, which it says how to chain in the pattern. And then I added my tassels so that it could really tie in with my sweater. This is a little bit tricky to work with. It's very, very fuzzy. And when I was making my inner hat, there was this big note that said, make sure that you don't twist when you join in the round. Well, of course I twisted, because not only was I using this very slippery yarn, but I was using a long needle and I was magic looping, which is kind of deadly when you're trying not to twist. So I definitely twisted and I did not want to re-knit this. So I basically knit into the twist so it just remained twisted and I kept going. Because I'm like, this is the lining, this is such furry yarn, you can't even tell where the twist is. Let me see if I can find it. I don't even know if I can find it. The only bad thing about it being twisted is that it has a little thicker extra part where it was twisted. I think it might be right here. I can't even feel it. I can't see it. Can you see that there was a twist? No, you can't. So that's how I fixed it. I'm just like, I'm not starting this over. So beware, this is a little bit tricky to work with. It looks really thick, but it's actually pretty thin, which is what you want because this alpaca is so nice and heavy that you want the lining to be thin. I mean, this is the warmest hat I own. It's so warm. And it was a fun adventure, this hat. I really did enjoy it. I love working with this alpaca. It's so nice. I haven't blocked this hat because, it seems to fit me just right. I don't think blocking it would make the cable stand out anymore. And I loved it. It took me probably 2 or 3 nights to make because piecing it together takes some time and doing these special things like the pom-pom and the tassels and just the fact that you're knitting 2 hats. The outer hat is on, I think, a 10.5 and the inner is on an 11. And I think I could have done the inner on a 10.5. It seemed like there was plenty of room, but do what the pattern says. Absolutely do what the pattern says. See you next time here on Kristy Glass Knits. Bye.